Hello folks, and welcome back to a Massachusetts Central Radio Show, or an automotive radio show, or Como's automotive radio show, Como's vlog, Como's vlog corner, and the lot. So hello everybody, and welcome back to another video. It's the last 15 minutes of Sunday, the 26th. Tomorrow's the 27th. Hello boys and girls, hello ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to episode 403, I think it is. Episode 403 for the year. 403 overall. No, 404. 404. Well, episode 33 for the year, episode 404 for the season. 404 in total in general. So yeah, guys, hello and welcome back to this channel. Welcome back to episode 33 of the year, and welcome to I know our journey for March begins soon, and I only have
says jump once.
shorts.
Now jump down and let
Get out of shorts.
shoulder to shoulder.
Yep. So I did 1, 2, 3, 4. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. So I did 19 videos I did 19 episodes for February. 19 episodes for February, and then I did 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13. So we're a little bit shorter. I know I've done a few episodes less this month because this is a shorter month, so the output isn't as high. But doing that many episodes a month has definitely helped me pass a lot. So, and with this one, we'll have 15 videos, and with the next day we'll have 16 videos, and we'll have 17 videos for the month, because I am going to record on Tuesday. So actually, 17. Yeah, so we're gonna. I'm recording on. I am recording on Tuesday. So, yeah, I am recording on Tuesday so I can close out the month. So I always try to open and close the month. So, if I can. So yeah, 17 videos to start off the year, and plus a total of 30. Well, today, tomorrow, and Tuesday, we'll have 33, 34, 30. So 35 for the year. It's kind of tough when you want to do this, because and I know what everybody's gonna say. I said, oh, there's 59 days in this year, and you've only produced this many already, yada yada yada. I don't tend to set records. Tend to set records because I already have so many episodes already for the season, and already have so many episodes for my channel in general. So, but my output this year is a lot better than it was last year, because I think in the beginning of last year, I think it was like I shot a video every day and I didn't record gameplay every day, possibly because I just didn't want to and I didn't feel like it. And I think I got over 90 episodes last year, and as I said, I got 90 episodes last year, so we're already 90 episodes last year, which we're already yeah, so I got up to 90 episodes last year, so we're already up there in terms of, so we're already like half the way there to 90. So so just keep in mind that I think we're going to be doing more than 90 this year. So because I think I did like maybe like 10 episodes, and then when I did some gameplay videos, I did a lot more gameplay videos, which is why I probably didn't record as much. But to end the first 2 months of the year with 35 episodes, but also have an abundance of regular episodes, kind of helps out. So I just wanted to reiterate. So after today, I will have produced 47 videos. Now, the reason why I am doing this is because I know I know the output for my my output for the year will be higher if I do more than just vlogs, because it's kind of boring if it's just me talking. I want you guys to obviously do more automotive. I'm going to do some more automotive related stuff. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the ovals thing. I already have one view of it on ready. If you guys do it, it's about like 45 minutes long. So yeah, so for the last like 8 minutes of the day, and I plan to do last 5-6 minutes of the video, because I plan to do 15 minutes. So I finished. So I told you guys I would give my full review and my full kind of review on Spirited Away. Now, Spirited Away was released in 2001 by Hayao Miyazaki of Studio Ghibli. For those of you who do not know Studio Ghibli is very well known, producing very good animation, and his and their works are second to none. Miyazaki really didn't. Studio Ghibli started in 1985. Miyazaki really didn't start really doing a lot of the work until the late 80s, And around the time I was born is when he started to kind of take over. And seeing as I'm 30, 33, going on to 34 this year, the Studio Ghibli, Studio Ghibli is almost, see if I'm 30, see, it's about almost 30 some odd years old. Well, if it's older, well, it's older than me. Well, the studio's 4 years older than I am, so so it's around 38, 37, 38 years old. But Spirited Away, I was blown away. A lot of people usually talk about animation and drawing and stuff like that, and how great these are, and they have that sort of odd. They have that sort of really odd and very, very eerie feel to them, and it's so the premise of Spirited Away is it's a young girl named Jiro, who's going to go to a new home in a new town. She's gonna have to get used to all this new stuff, and she's scared like any normal child would be when they're moving to a new town. They're doing something new. I do. There are reasons why. I don't know the reasons behind why they're changing. It's just that they're making a move. Maybe the father has to go for work or something like that. He changed, or they just wanted to change regions because they wanted to get away from something. And they stop. They're on the way to, and she's not so happy that she's going on, and that she's not willing to really do it. And you know, and the parents are like, "Oh, you'll enjoy your new school, and you'll enjoy everything." And she goes, "No, no, no, I'm not gonna like it. It's gonna be a pain. I don't really want to do it, and I'm not in the mood to do that." Yada yada yada. You know, because kids get stuck in their own ways and they don't want to change. They get really close to their friends and their school and their regions and stuff like that. Their region, and it's kind of hard for them to transition. That's so. It's the movie is actually, from what I read, from what I watched, the movie is kind of a metaphor for what she's going to, what she's kind of going through. I don't know if I've not read any forums. This is just what I think. The movie ahead. The movie's about 2 hours and 5 minutes, if anybody's wondering. And I think it grossed like 394 million worldwide. I think 300 million in the box office in Japan, and I think got 90 million over. They got 90 million worldwide. It was a very successful movie, and very so because the movie has really good voice acting. The plot line's believable. So the movie. So going forward, you guys are probably wondering, so how is it called Spirited Away? Does it have anything to do with change or, you know, more responsibilities and changing and stuff like that? Jiro doesn't want to, but the movie kind of reflects how she's feeling, and how she's going to deal with, and how she's going to have to deal with change in her life in the next couple of years. And she's kind of reluctant. So so they stop over the side of the road to take a break, and they follow a path, and there's an entrance to a they go to an entrance with this little lion, frog, thing. You see them. You see a lot of them in temples and stuff. You know, the guardian animals and stuff like that, in front of Shinto shrines and stuff like that. They go through this tunnel and they're going past these buildings. They're going through this building, this temple that that ends up, and they notice that there's a bunch of there's a bunch of seats and a bunch of windows, and it looks like it hasn't been used. And the father, they go through the door, and Chiro, of course, tells the father and the mother, "Oh, I heard a weird noise. I heard the whispering winds." And the father's like, "Oh yeah, this is one of those creaky old amusement parks that they probably set up in the late '80s, early '90s, mid to late '80s and the '90s, and then going out of business because of the recession. Because there was a recession in because there was a recession in Japan in the mid '90s, as long with the other world. There was a big recession going on, and Japan's amusement parks got hit. So they think it's just an abandoned amusement park, and next thing you know, they go into this small little town that looks like all these little amusement parks, and you're gonna find out it's not really an amusement park. You're gonna find out it's actually a town. I'll explain that in a minute. They actually, her parents actually find food to eat. They start eating food, and it's late in the day and stuff like that. And Chiro's mom, I think wanted to get near the movers and stuff like that, or wanted to get there in time with the movers and all this other stuff. They didn't want to be late and stuff like that. They didn't want to wait all night, and that plays into effect. Now, Chiro goes out into the courtyard and finds out there's not really everybody around. And then she finds this boy named Haku, who she meets, and Haku tells her, "You have to get over the river bed by sunset, or you don't want to be here." And Haku has to hold off some mysterious force. And next thing Chiro knows, she turns the corner, and both of her parents have been feasting on so much that and you notice when they're feasting on the food that they're feasting a lot. So when she turns back, they're both turned into pigs. And next thing she knows, she sees all these spirits walking around. So Spirited Away it's basically a spirit town. It's basically a town for spirits and these weird ones. And so she meets Haku, and she gets back with Haku, and she's like, "My parents are pigs." And she's like, "Well, you can't be here because you're human." So what happens is she, before she meets back with Haku, she runs to the river, finds it's flooded after there was no water to begin with. It probably dried up, or it was probably part of an amusement, or so her parents thought at the beginning. And then she runs into Haku halfway back, and she ends up, long story short, she runs up to Haku. Haku tells her, "Well, you can't stay here, you're human. I will be able to shield you, and then you got to get into the bathhouse," and stuff like that. And he goes, "Go to Kamanji, who's the boiler room guy." And she ends up, falling down a flight of stairs and, yelling and stuff like that, even though she's supposed to keep quiet. And stuff like that. And then Kamanji, and then when the Haku's spell wears off, she's noticed as a human, and she's kind of a fugitive in a way. And she goes up to Kamanji, who's this multi-armed yokai. If you guys don't know what a yokai is, it's kind of this weird-ass monster. And, well, he's not a monster. He looks like an old man with the glasses. He kind of looks like Master Roshi a little bit, but way weirder. He's got like 1,000,000 arms. And she asks for a job, and Kamanji's like, no, I don't have any jobs for you. You have to go up to Yubaba, who's the lead witch, who you find out is the lead witch of the whole, lead witch slash lead proprietor of the bathhouse in the spirit world, and in the spirit world. And I think Chiro ends up going up to Yubaba. I mean, she finds another person who is basically who looks human, but is really who was probably lost a long time ago. I think like that. Takes her up to Yubaba, and he asks Yubaba, who's this evil-looking, this grotesque-looking grandmother-looking witch. Repeater yells her head off for her to get a job, and to the point where Yubaba actually zips her mouth, and Yubaba's like, why should I give you a job? You're self-centered. You're the way you talk. You're self-centered, very, very boisterous, very loud, very disrespectful. And she's a 7, 8, 9-year-old girl. So it's not like, she's like, why should I give you a job and so forth. And she talks about her parents and all this other stuff. So what ends up happening was she signs a work contract, and she takes away two of her the kanji in the beginning of her name, and she's now called Sen. Sen's her spirit world name, because Chiro is a human name. And you're gonna notice that a lot of the names of all the human-based people and some of the spirit world people, some of them are bigger names, and then humans have smaller names and stuff like that. But Haku shows her to her dorm, or he has to call her she has to call her Master Haku. From there on in, they're not longer friends or acquaintances. And yeah, so she meets Lynn again. And Lynn gives her her clothes for her working clothes. And the next hour of the whole movie, hour and half of the movie, is her working, and actually on her way down to the pen, she meets a man named No Face, and No Face ends up probably being one of the most important characters in the whole thing. She meets her parents, who are turned into pigs, and she can't really she can identify them, and Haku, who's trying to help her, says, "Oh, you got to get out of here. You're a human. You don't want to be here too long." And he gives her the little farewell ticket. Says, "Oh, remember your name. Don't forget it. If you don't forget your name," because she realizes she forgets her name because Haku tells her, Yubaba, the witch, ends up taking her name, ends up taking the name off people so that she can control them. I think it's implied that he's controlled, but they don't, but she doesn't know why. And then it's said they kind of exchange words, and he's kind of like, well, the reason why I'm saying this is because I met you before, yada yada yada. And so when he disappears later that night, he actually turns into a dragon, and you don't see him till much later in the film. But so the next hour and a half is them, her working, and she's kind of having to grow up very fast because she's now working in a bathhouse, and she has to she has to take she has to take responsibility and stuff like that. I mean, when she scrubs the floors with the other people, she's super slow. She slips, she falls, and the next couple of days she gets used to it, and they eventually get this customer, this sludge monster, and she has to give it the bath, and she ends up the monster ends up giving her this empathic dumpling, and an emetic dumpling is basically ipecac. It's basically something that basically causes you to it's medicine. It's like ipecac or castor oil. It's meant to make you it's meant to upset your system so you can actually go into the bathroom and do your business, or evacuate any foreign objects out of your system. Literally, an emetic is basically ipecac. Is basically you're meant to throw up / vomit your vomit with one of these things. So, and after she celebrates, she actually eats a piece of the dumpling, and she almost throws up. And she has to eat this real dumpling that Lynn gives her. I really like just to pause for a second. The storytelling is very good. It's very believable. It's kind of, and it's kind of a symbology of, working for a big corporation, or working for a big company or something like that, and having to be part of this big organization, and you have all these demands, or you get fired and stuff like that. I mean, Yubaba taking Chiro's name and taking the first two kanji of her name and calling her Sen. It's kind of symbolic of how a corporation basically has you tap in a number, and you be that number as your calling card a little bit, so you can punch in and stuff like that instead of swiping a card or something like that. It's kind of one of those things that kind of depersonalizes you a little bit. You're just a number, not a person, sort of thing. And working with all sorts of weird people, and all sorts of weird procedures, and she also has to face the fact that she's a human, so there's a little bit of racism, a little bit. She's kind of a human, and the demons and all the spirits, these frog slug looking things that she has to deal with. So she has to deal with a little bit of racism as well. She also gets picked on that she's small, and she's not very she doesn't have very good etiquette. She's kind of uncouth a little bit, but you can't blame her. She's 7 years old, 9 years old, or something like that. The story's very good. The drawing and the animation and a lot of the designs of a lot of things, like if they draw a pipe or a wheel or a gear or something, it looks very good. It looks like something you would see in real life a little bit, and they did it very well. Very well. And then she visits the parents a couple of times, even though she can figure out which ones they are, and it takes them a couple of days to it takes them a couple of days to wake up because they ate a lot of food at that food stand. I mean, they were eating whatever they could get their hands on. It was kind of weird. And you get to meet a bunch of people. You get to meet Bo, who's basically Yubaba's grandchild or child, kind of big. If you guys want to look it up, I can't really actually, I can actually show you what Yubaba looks like because I hope the internet doesn't. That's what she looks like. That lady on the left. That lady on the left, and that's actually that scary-looking girl is actually Jiro or Sen when she's Jiro Sen. So she's the head witch. Lynn, you guys can go look it up because I can't really show too many on. And Lynn is very sympathetic. She helps out. She helps out Sen or Chiro a lot in her, and she's like, she's trying to help her fit in, even though she's never 100% right there, and she's always looking out for her on certain things. Haku does come back once in a while to visit her, and then he actually does come back one time after this big rainstorm comes through, and the world is covered in almost kind of symbolizing how she's kind of walked into this world and how the world's kind of different and stuff like that. And Haku does come back in his dragon form, but he's swarmed by these by the Shikigami, these weird paper-looking cross bird things, these spirit things that are just like they're supposed to be kind of bird symbols, and it's kind of funny because Yubaba and her sister are both her twin sister are both kind of symbolized as birds. Like they fly out and they go home after after they're done with work, and they shut down the bathhouse and stuff like that. So you know, it's I think it's a really cool movie and stuff like that. But it's not until like the last 45 minutes that the movie really starts to get there. So she kind of figures out that Haku has been. She kind of figures out that Haku has been. She kind of figures out through Zeniba, or Granny as she's called at the end of the movie. She's Yubaba's twin sister, and she's kind of, you'll find out that at the end of the movie, so she looks a little different than she does. So it's kind of put that Haku is has stolen the seal from her, and it's got this stolen the seal. It's this golden thing, and it ends up being put with a incantation that's controlling him, and Zubab is using it to control him. Years ago when he was imprisoned in there, and he was stuck in human form a lot, and she crushes Sen crushes a slug that actually is part of that. He ends up the way how she does this is she gives him the part of the emetic dumpling, so he regurgitates or pukes out the seal. and then he returns back to human form to recover, and it's kind of funny because when she actually, because she's actually on his back during his fall down to the boiler room, she's actually riding on his back, and he's actually on Haku's back when he's in dragon form, and she has all this water going around her, and she she notices that, I mean, no, she was on him while he she caught him, and she ended up she was driving through the water, and he ended up well, actually no, while he watched her, he saw her on the dragon's back, and she was underwater, and you can see a shoe, pink shoe, in the vision. So he recovers. So she recovers. She actually has to return the Zil back to Zemba. She goes on this train because Kamaji has tickets on the train. She goes over there, and then Zubaba figures out that she broke in and did all a bunch of stuff to Bo and a couple, Zemba and a couple other people, the baby and stuff like this. And she orders to be slaughtered, and Haku's like, no, you don't do this. We want her to do, she's going to give the seal back, and you let her, in exchange, you let her be human again. You let her parents be human and transport them back to the human world on the other side of the river. So they restored the thing to Zemba. Oh yeah, by the way, one face comes back, and no face comes back and almost destroys all of the bathhouse and stuff like that, because he gorges on a lot of food because he gives everybody gold. So Sen and Sen, Bo, and a couple of the other people actually end up coming along. No Face comes along. Lynn gives her the tickets. They go. Lynn, the other human girl. They go to the and they find Zenba, who was in the. They meet Zemba again, and it's known that, and Zemba lets them in on. Zenba lets them in on or Zimbabwe or something like that. I think Zimbabwe or something like that. Zimbabwe actually ends up letting them in on that I'm the nicer of the two sisters. She's a crash witch. She's a crass witch and all this other stuff. The way how she talks about Yubaba, and she calls Granny, and she asks them to call Granny, and her Zen and everybody call Granny and all that other stuff. And Zen then, or Chiro ends up asking, can you change Bo and the other person back? And she goes, no, this were long ago. They can change back if they want. So she gives them back the seal. Then they go back on the train tracks, and Haku ends up showing up again, and they leave at dawn, and they go under the water again, and good old Senator Chiro ends up finding out. I said, oh, I remember you from I remember I fell in a river when I was very young, when I was about 4 years old. When I was about 4 years old, I remember going in a river, and somebody saved me, and I remember it was you that saved me. And it breaks the spell, all the scales fall away, and Haku turns back into his human form. And they fly back to the bathhouse, and Zimbabwe says, I got your work contract. If you can figure out what your parents are, you're free to go. She ends up finding out that none of the above people are her parents, and she goes, you're right. They're waiting you for the other side of the ridge. Haku can show you. She goes back, and then, well, they live happily after, and it actually ends with Chiro, now turned back into Chiro, because she's giving her name back because she's on the other side. Sen/Chiro ends up going, oh, I'm not scared anymore. I'm going to take this on. So she grows a little bit throughout, and she grows and she goes stronger, and she goes strong. She goes stronger, and she gets better as time goes on. I think it's a really good movie. Really good movie. I thought that the story was amazing. I thought the story was absolutely downright amazing. I will definitely recommend it to anybody who, Zenaba, not Zimbabwe, Zenaba, because she and by the way, Haku is the spirit of the Kohaku River because she figures that out. Jason Marsden and David Lee Chase, Dave Lee Chase, and No Face is by Bob Bergen and a couple other people. Bo is the baby. She's Tara Strong. There's the River Spirit, which is actually the sludge guy. Rash Spirit is it's kind of a weird looking thing. Doesn't talk. There was in English. There's only the English adaptation is a lot different than the other one. So, so the supernaturalism, fantasy, Western consumerism. They're talking about greed. How the yeah. So there was So remember how I said that how there was a consumer bubble. There was a big boom in the 80s in amusement parks. The amusement park is kind of an example of how Japan kind of took Western consumerism a little bit, and also the father actually has an imported car, and he has more Western style clothing. So it's kind of like, because there's a lot of risks. And then he ends up and said, oh, we have a lot of cash and credit cards. I have a lot of cash and credit cards so I can pay this off. Stuff like that. It's kind of, and Western consumerism is a big one. Notice that. Oh yeah, there's a lot of there's a lot of symbolism in there, and as I said, there's also being greedy and stuff like that. There's also a lot of greed in here, like there's a lot of power, stuff like that. As I said, there's a little bit of corporate greed in there as well. A lot of them want the riches, and because the people that they do are, and you notice that that the people in the town that are based, there's basically spirits like the little people because when you watch the movie, the bathhouse is this big tall thing. The houses are just down here and they're full of spirits. It's almost like at the foot of the corporate mitre of the big monarchs, you know. And also losing your identity a little bit, losing your environment, you know, trying to grow up and face your fears. Because in the beginning of the film, Jiro did not look like she was. Chichiro didn't. Not Chichiro. Didn't look like she was gonna be able to tackle her new life all that well, and she kind of grows, and she kind of grows through the film, and to the point where she kind of, you know, she goes up against, she kind of stands for what's right. She wants to figure out what's happening, and because at the end of the day, she wants to get back to her parents and back to her, back to the safety of, you know, of her family and stuff like that, and restore her family back to the way it was. And so yeah, very good movie, amazing movie. I thought it was great. I thought it was very great. I thought it was a great movie. The animation was great. The story was great. The message is definitely great. I mean, you know, it's hard to make a dent in a big society, and you got to keep in mind she's an 11-year-old kid. She doesn't have any parents around. She's basically an orphan, and so is Haku as well, because Haku was driven out of his home, and he kind of found a home, but he kind of had to pay a price. So, you know, they both found, and, you know, at the end of the day, Haku and both of them found themselves. Lynn kind of states this, but she didn't, but I don't think she found out that she, actually, looking at Lynn, actually, she actually looks very, very close to Chichiro's mother, Chihiro's mother. So I'm thinking maybe there was a link there. But the movie's very good, and I think the message is this. You know, I think the message of the movie overall is, you know, life. There's a lot of changes in life. You're going to see a lot of scary things in life, and I think this movie kind of symbolizes that, yeah, change is scary, and it kind of, her whole deal in the spirit world was kind of it's kind of her deal in the spirit world is in facing her fears and facing the change, kind of mirrors and kind of symbolizes change in her waking life, kind of her real life ordeal. And, you know, it's kind of transformation. She kind of, because at the beginning of the film, she's scared as can be. At the end of the movie, she's like, no, I can tackle my new life. But I can tackle my new life. I'll definitely get used to it, and I'll have fun. And you know, in a way, her time at working at the bathhouse kind of changed her a little bit. You know, going through a lot of change in life, and going through certain parts and chapters in your life. You learn something each time, and you get more mature, and you tend to look things a little differently, and just not from the same perspective you did back then. So the movie definitely tells you, you know, the movies can definitely say that, and it's great when animated features can do that. So I think it's a great movie, and I think it's an amazing flick. I think a lot of people can learn from it, because definitely it's how everybody goes through it definitely can relate. Anybody who's younger or trying to make a mark in the world can definitely make, because because she literally goes from not being taken seriously to being taken seriously because, you know, she's different, and a lot of people don't like different, especially in society and stuff like that. And there's a lot of racism in there because she's a human, and there are a bunch of spirits, yeah, spirits and witches and stuff like that. So, and you know, she's, at the end of the day, Chichira's a kid. So, and I think this movie will appeal to anybody who is scared of change and sees that how she dealt with change, and she was out of her comfort zone. And it's kind of a point of view from how children kind of see, you know, changes, and how they see other new people around them and stuff like that. Because meeting new people and going someplace new, that can be scary. So, and that's kind of a representation of what a child feels when because they're they go into the unknown, especially when they go to school, or they go to a dance, or they go to a new, or they do something new for the first time, and stuff like that. Whether it's meeting a friend, or meeting somebody else, or a guy meeting a girl, you know, for the first time. It's kind of spooky, and it's kind of scary sometimes. It's kind of, and it's for girls that the same, you know, me and the guy. So yeah, this movie is very good. I can see why a lot of people like them, and I can see why Japan was able to gross $309 million at the box office for this one movie that had a budget of like $10 million. And the reason why it did $90 million out here in the